Yeah, let's do a sort of a group recap. Did you hit the button, Killbot?
I hit the button.
So I don't want to start a recap if we're not recording anything.
Go for it. We should be good.
All right, sweet. So yes, it's been a couple weeks since our last session. We're all back now. I probably should have just went back and listened to the last hour or so of last week's session or last time's session just to refresh myself, but I didn't have time. I also forgot that we were recording these now. So we can sort of like I guess bounce off our memories off of each other and come up with a sort of a group a recap of the stuff that went down. But in broad strokes, you guys have been on planet Korriban for I don't know a little while now. It's you've been here for a couple hours probably. Um, After chasing away the Imperial fleet that's sort of garrisoning this planet from orbit, um, you did some decent amount of damage to them, but they were able to jump into hyperspace, presumably to return at some point. But that's sort of a big if. Anyway, you land on the planet, and you find that this place is basically just what you know Korriban to be as a person, as like a consumer of Star Wars fiction, right? It's like this deserted, arid desert sort of planet that is basically just filled with old Sith ruins. It's like a big graveyard of the Sith. If this were 40K, this would be like a death world. Um, After landing, you guys started to sort of pick up on the eeriness of this place and sort of like some of the irreality that the dark side of the Force brings out in the place. So you had to land fairly far-ish from where you thought you needed to be, based on some sensor readings. I forget exactly what those sensor readings depicted for you, but I think it was maybe Alice's seek power, based on a vision that she had had. Basically, you landed within like about 10 kilometers or so of your destination. So you took the one of the vehicles from the Sunrise and set off. I think it was the airbrushed band van
Yes.
that you guys are never going to get rid of because it's amazing.
It's
Um,
important to note it's currently broken down, so we can't forget that.
yep, you did have to semi-abandon it. There was a moment where I think it was Frack was driving along, and he suddenly had some force hallucinations that he was gripped with. So he ran into a hallucination of like his brother, his little brother, who was like showing up as he appeared as a kid, even though his brother is an adult now, or was an adult. Spoilers for the other like side mission that Killbot ran a while ago. Um, but yeah, he saw this hallucination of his brother. Nobody else saw it. It's basically just like a force apparition for him. But after he was able to shake it off, you guys made your way on foot since the van started having some electrical problems, spooky electrical problems. And you guys got caught up in sort of a dust storm, or like it was a very very hazy. I don't even know if it was a storm. I think it was just really really dusty and dark and dim. Long story short, you guys were ambushed by some Sith apparitions of these like I forget what they're actually called. I have to look in the book. Like these beasts that looked sort of like dogs or wolves. And you found out they were able to damage you pretty well, but sort of any attacks that you did to them, or like anything physical that you did to them, sort of like passed right through them. They did seem to take damage from it, but they were non corporeal. They were called beasts. Oh, phantasmal beasts is what they were.
I'm actually gathering card.
They have a rough appearance and movement of a canine predator, but it is swathed in inky blackness, uh, with gleaming teeth and shining red eyes. So basically, Cujo. And yeah, that was pretty much towards the end of the last session, and then you guys had seen you were coming up on your ultimate first destination here, which was like a an entrance into one of these temples that's sort of carved into the side of a mountain or a plateau. And you saw that there was two pairs of footprints in the dust going into the temple, and they didn't seem to be coming back out again. And some of the more perceptive people, or people who knew more about xenology, I think, were able to determine that one of the sets of footprints was human, and the other set of footprints was appeared to be Quarren feet, which are those Cthulhu people.
Yeah, and there were like noticeable marks around this doorway, or there was like a rock that was blocking the door originally, but it has since been moved in a very strange way.
Yep, very Jesus-y. So yeah, that's what I remember. I don't know if anybody else has anything to fill in the holes there, but I think that's most of it.
I believe that's pretty accurate.
Yeah, that sounds well right from what I remember.
Yeah, so I think the last line that Alice said was something like, she's like, no, it can't be that Quarren, right? The universe, the galaxy might be full of Quarrens, but we've only so far encountered one that may have a reason, some reason to be here.
Yeah, I don't believe in coincidences.
For anybody listening to the recording for posterity, the only other Quarren that we've seen in the campaign that I know of is an Inquisitor. So this like dark side, evil-looking squid dude, who during a previous mission on, I believe it was Onderon?
I think it was Osis.
Osis, there we go. On the previous mission to Osis, you guys had run into at a secret Imperial installation, and as far as the characters know, killed him in a gigantic explosion.
Gunnis will sort of drop his hand on Alice's shoulder as he like walks up past her and say, "Don't dwell on it too much. Whatever it is, we'll confront it."
Yeah, let's go on in.
Yeah, Zep is gonna basically just kind of keep his lightsaber out, but it's not ignited, and he'll kind of take point.
Alrighty.
Yep, Alice will do the same.
Spooky crypt.
I guess Gank will take up the rear in case more of those dog things show up.
Cautiously in.
Give me 2 seconds while I pull up a PDF real quick. Should have queued up like some spooky background music, like ambient sounds of wind whistling through caves.
I've got synthwave going. It's keeping me pumped up.
Pretty sure Roll20 has like that kind of ambient music in there.
It has like a little jukebox feature.
It used to have SoundCloud, I think, but they got rid of it.
It used
Yeah.
to.
I have a playlist specifically for dark side places like this, but unfortunately, most of the files are local, so I can't share it.
It's okay. Folks can just listen to our voices.
Our voices are pretty scary. Okay, I found the thing that I'm looking for, so we're good. You guys make your way into this temple. When you walk in, sort of like the ambient light outside, which is already pretty low, it gives way to like there's an unnatural brightness in this place. It's somehow better lit than the outside, even though you don't see any sources of light or anything like that. Seems to be coming from like little recesses, sort of like built into the ceilings of these chambers that you're in. If you played the Old Republic, it looks like like the temples from Korriban on the Old Republic.
Oh man.
Yeah.
It's basically like this would have been a like a mausoleum to a Sith Lord or to some Sith Lords. Sort of like big open cavernous circular chambers that are all connected to each other. And like in each chamber, there's basically just like a big empty space in the middle with like surrounding it on all sides of the walls are like these huge statues of like Sith warriors of old, sort of like kneeling, or some of them are just like standing up and robed and holding a weapon. But since all this time has passed, since this place was built, it's been like thousands of years. They're all sort of crumbling away. But maybe eerily, some of them have been like crumbling, but you notice as you walk by that like maybe the nose has been like has fallen off of one of them, but it's somehow like suspended in midair above where it should be, or like in front of this the face of the statue. Like the force is sort of keeping these statues uh, sort of in place, even though they're literally falling apart. And somewhere off in the distance, you hear the sound of like not rushing wind, but like sort of a low roaring sound of wind moving through this place, even though you don't really feel anything. But all told, it's very spooky. It smells very dusty. The wind or the air in here smells like it hasn't been really circulated over thousands of years. It's very, very stale, very musty.
Spooky. So I see they sprung for the recessed LED lighting.
Yeah, this thing's last for hundreds of years.
Be cautious. We don't know who or what is in here.
Yeah. I will have lightsabers out.
I'm going to, or Zep's going to reach out with the Force, and I got some dark side pips, so I'm going to say there's some confliction there. I am going to use a Destiny point and use 2 dark side pips to sense life forms at extreme range.
Okay. There is I want to say there's a mechanic that I have to go back real quick and find in the adventure module for using dark side pips on this planet.
Oh.
Okay, so it's whenever you roll a force pool, you get 1 extra pip that is dark, and if you use that pip, and only that specific one, then I can do some extra fun stuff to that roll.
Yeah, make it happen. So I used 2. I don't know if that means extra fun stuff, but
Double the extra. Double the fun.
All right, and you're just sensing, you said life forms at extreme range, or just generally sensing at extreme range?
I'm going to do just life forms, and if I get that, I'd like to try and sense just surface thoughts.
Okay. You do sense at extreme range beyond, the party, the presence of a few life forms. We'll say that you can't pin down an exact number just because of the extreme range of it, but it's could be 2, could be 3, could be 4. You're pretty certain that it's not any more than that. But you also sense on top of those 2, 3, 4 people, something extremely strange. And like, I think if you were to put like a tangible quality to these senses that you're having from people, like, I don't know, if you touch somebody, they're warm. A few of these people are warm, like they're living. But then you also sense beyond that some things that are like echoes of people, or like echoes of what you would sense when you sense a person, and they're all very like cold and clammy, like almost like you're reaching out and you're touching death itself.
Touching a corpse.
And I think I'm gonna say that might give you a strain too.
In addition to the 2 I already took?
Yes.
Okay.
And I'm only gonna put that on there once, in case you sense for something again.
Yeah, so Zep kind of shivers, and then I'm going to reach out again first to try and read the surface thoughts of just one of them. Ooh.
See.
Whoa.
Ooh.
It's gonna be amazing.
What was the closest life form I could sense? At what range band, rather?
They're both extreme. Like all of it's extreme.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna just shake my head and think that the dark side has clouded everything too much for me to move forward. But I will let everyone else know. Yeah, there's between 2 and 4 other people in the vicinity, and then there are, I guess, echoes that we're gonna have to watch out for.
Echoes.
Echoes of powerful Sith, I'm guessing. Potentially spirits. If we're lucky, that's just the dark side messing with my head like it did with Rack. If we're not lucky, we're gonna have to fight some ghosts.
What do I know about ghosts? I have 2 skills in lore, and I also have a Grey Jedi holocron, a Grey Order holocron. There are no Grey Jedi.
Okay, so to define the dice pool, are you asking what do you know about ghosts in like a folkloric way, or what do you know about Force ghosts?
Force ghosts using lore. Actually, well, Alice wouldn't know the difference between a Force ghost and a dark side specter. So just spirits, basically.
Okay, we'll do it as a. I'll give you a choice. You can do it as an average to just sort of do what you know about ghosts since like what you've heard since you were a kid about like folklore stuff. But if you want to be more specific and get more information that's maybe actually true, we'll do that with 4 purples, and I'll give you a boost die for the Grey Order holocron. All right. So maybe you had a discussion in the past with the holocron about stuff like this, or maybe like, I don't know, do you whip it out now and start to ask it questions?
I can whip it out now. And although it would have been fun if maybe she got into this conversation with the gatekeeper about, are my parents ever going to be coming back? What does the Force have to say about life beyond death? That would have been pretty interesting.
I like that. It's a very sad scene. So emo.
Maybe that does happen. Like on one of our journeys on board the Sunrise, Alice just starts asking it questions. Maybe she's like super down one day, and she starts thinking about her parents, her friends back in Alderaan, and she starts asking herself, well, if the Force is, it binds the galaxy together, what does it do when people die?
I think the Grey Jedi holocron, without just like starting to quote it, it would have been like that's something that the Jedi have talked about for thousands and thousands of years. There's very many different interpretations of life after death, if there is life after death. But I think the holocron would tell you sort of the accepted wisdom of the Grey Jedi Order is that when a Force user dies, or when anything living dies, its connection to the Force is sort of subsumed back into the greater whole. But then it would say like a sort of like an addendum to this philosophy that basically when you die, you just go back to join the Force and you lose your personality, your individuality. It's just like a drop going back into the ocean. But then the addendum would be like, but it is known to the Grey Jedi Order that, or strongly suspected by the Grey Order, that individuals of immense power are able to retain their personality, their individuality, their sense of self after death, and can then impact the living. But then it would say that this is extremely rare and it's only been seen on a handful of occasions. But when it has, these people have always been very, or these spirits have always been very dangerous.
Ah.
And maybe she wouldn't use the word dangerous. It's like they've always been very, like I'm trying to think of like a negative word for unique that means the same thing as unique. Like So it could have been like very strong light side users, very strong dark side users. It's just that like it takes a very strong force of will to be able to do this, and so these people have always been very like yeah, like very not aggressive, like assertive, I guess.
Yeah, very driven.
Yeah, and this is even amplified in death. So like their spirit becomes like an exaggerated person of, or form of what they were in life.
Interesting. All right, well that's what I know about this the ghosts.
Good ghost.
Spooky.
Yeah, I always imagine the forest as like a giant ball of yarn.
So yeah, these things are sorry, good.
Oh, no, that was the joke that Isaias wrote in Discord. People think of it as duct tape. I like to think of it as yarn. Moving on.
So yeah, the sense that you had, Zep, was that these were extreme range. So it's deeper into the temple. You know that for sure.
Copy that.
What about
Yeah,
our? Oh, sorry, good.
I was just gonna say, yeah, I'll kind of let everyone know that that's the gist of it.
So for the mundanes in the party, the Muggles, the non-Jedi, what do you guys do in here? Like, so you just were told basically, oh yeah, there's ghosts in here. Like, what are you doing in this temple? So it's like the two Force users are probably sort of mulling on the nature of ghosts and shit like that. But I want to know what Gank and Gunnis and Argon are all up to.
As a doctor and a man of science, ghosts seem really weird to Argon, I think. What are they actually?
Gunnis isn't worried about ghosts or anything, the Force stuff that they're talking about. He trusts that if there's something that the group needs to know, that they'll tell them. And he's instead trying to create a mental map as they move through the different parts of the temple to make sure that he understands where they came from if they need to get out quickly.
Gunnis has been in enough dungeons that he knows he needs to get the graph paper out.
Always turn right.
It's always left. Jeez.
What about Gank?
Not sure Gank buys ghost stories.
So you're sort of like just nonplussed by it all.
Yeah, no. Till something proves otherwise. Otherwise, it's just a creepy old ruin.
Creepy
Also,
old
welcome
ruin.
TBG.
Sorry, I'm late.
No worries. TLDR, we did a little recap of the last session, and walked into this Sith temple that you guys had stopped out in front of before. And there was, I don't know if you remember, there was two sets of footprints going into the temple and none coming out. One was human, one was Quarren.
Right.
So the group just walked into the temple. Zep did some Force stuff and sensed that there were a couple of anywhere between 2 and 4 living beings besides the party inside this temple. But he also sensed an indeterminate number of things that are like living people, but not living.
Shit.
Now we're just trading ghost stories.
Yep, somebody set up a campfire, get the s'mores out.
Spoopy.
It's a night much like this. Okay then.
Yeah, so Gunnis will sort of turn to Zep and say, which direction from here?
The long answer was I did not get a bead on them, correct?
You can probably like dowsing rod your way towards towards where they are, but no, you didn't really get detail.
That's me seems more like what Alice would do with Seek. Could I at least say like I felt them downward, like deeper into the planet, not necessarily a specific direction other than down.
Yeah, the temple inside, it seems to be pretty big from what you can see. Like there's this big antechamber that's sort of connected off through hallways. It's probably like sprawling into the side of this mountain, but you can definitely get a sense that they are downward from here. Maybe also, I think as part of that sense check too, you sense that the dead things you can't get a good reading on, but the living things seem to be busy doing something. Like they seem to be focused on a thing.
Okay, yeah. So I'll let them know, or I'll let Gunnis know. Like, yeah. Other than down, I don't have a specific direction. And as I got kind of surface thoughts from them, in that they're in the process of doing something. Like they're busy. So unless they're busy making a trap for us, I don't think they know we're here. I don't think they're ready for us.
Well, all right. Spread out. Let's stay inside of each other. Look for staircases or anything that might lead us deeper into this place.
I do that.
Yeah, so is there an elevator?
It has a 1,000-year-old out of order sign.
But if that's the case, then there is a shaft, correct? Or are you just joking?
No, literally. I mean, there is sort of like a massive stone elevator that is going down and up, and there is a shaft. There's just no car there. So if you look up it just sort of like extends up into the sky, and maybe there's like a pinprick of light at the very top where it opens out into the world. But then if you look down, it just descends into darkness. And yes, there is like 3,000-year-old caution tape surrounding it.
Well, at least they were OSHA certified, or compliant rather. So we found the way down. How far down is it?
Gunnis peers over the edge and kind of takes a gauge of it. Can we see the bottom of the shaft, or?
It's very dark. You can't directly see anything at the bottom.
Does it seem climbable? Or is this just a big hole in the ground?
The shaft, we'll say, like the sides of it aren't perfectly smooth. It's sort of like rough, like this was carved out of the wood, out of the stone, very like haphazardly maybe, or like using the force or something. So yeah, there are like footholds and handholds and stuff. It wouldn't be terribly easy, but it's there.
Gunnis turns to Zep and says, "Do we need to go all the way to the bottom, do you think?"
It's a good question.
You do see, or one thing you notice as you look down the shaft is that you don't see any other landings, like no other floors, basically. So if it does go down, maybe it just goes down to the bottom from this like ground level.
It doesn't look like there's any other landings that I see.
While they're playing around with that open hole in the ground, I'm going to look around so there's stairs somewhere.
Yeah, lo and behold, you do find some stairs. And
Cool.
they seem to be perfectly serviceable. Maybe you find an escalator with the out of order tape, but they've suddenly become stairs. Sorry for the convenience.
So Gunnis just turns to Zep and shrugs and steps off the top of the shaft into thin air.
I'd like to say that Zep shrugs at exactly the same time as Gunnis. Like they just kind of look at each other and go, eh.
Wait, did I miss something? Did you literally just step into an open shaft?
Absolutely.
Okay. You fall.
Take falling damage.
Nah, we good.
Oh, you have your... Okay.
So let me know when I get to the bottom.
Okay.
Okay.
Does anybody else in the party know exactly why you just stepped off the edge, or do they think you just committed suicide?
No, I think I've seen him use those boots before.
We all saw it coming.
Oh, huh? He just did that, huh?
It would be really funny if everybody saw it except for Argon because he's still new.
Yeah, I'm like, oh,
I could just imagine Harak turning to everyone else and being like, "So who's in charge now? You know, who signs my paychecks?"
Dibs.
Yeah, I want to I want to say that Zep saw this with Ward's foresight, so he knew exactly what was going to happen, and he knew it would be fine, so he just let it happen.
Zep pushed him. You
Get
do
it
like
over
throwing people off of tall things.
They have to be dead first.
All right, so Gunnis, you fall for a decent amount of time. Not like minutes or anything like that, but it's maybe you fall enough to eventually like come down to the bottom, and it's maybe like 100 feet below where you were before. Like if you look up from wherever you land, you could sort of barely make out Zep at the top looking down at you.
Okay. Well, when I slow to a stop and am on solid ground again, I will shout up to Zep. I'd gauge about 100 feet.
Okay.
Is there an exit down here too?
Yeah, it's quite dark, so I assume you have a glow rod.
I do. I have several actually.
Okay. When you shout up to Zep, it echoes sort of like off into eternity, up through the shaft, and then also sort of like a little bit on the level where you are, and because it's spooky and dark side-ish, when like the echo is farthest away from you, you can sort of hear it contorting into words that you didn't say, like with your own voice, like kill all the children, and like evil shit.
Jesus. I will pop my first glow rod and drop it on the floor of the shaft.
Kill all the teenage edgelords.
So perfect. Okay, yeah, you see you're on another level of the temple here. What strikes you the most about this level, though, is that like before, when you were upstairs, all of the statues were sort of like falling apart and in a state of disrepair, held together only by the sheer weight of the force. Down here, things are much more pristine. It's almost like time hasn't really affected this place at all. The floors are like shiny marble or granite floors. All the statues look like they were just put together yesterday. And they're all like you're in like, so facing out from the shaft, you're looking out onto like a very long hallway now. And on either side of the hallway, like spaced every 10 or 20 feet, is one of these massive statues of Sith lords, and they're all sort of like looking down at you and scowling. But
Zep
the
is-
place, oh good.
No, you go ahead.
I was just gonna say the place is completely dark down here, except for the light of your glow light, sort of unlike the rest of the temple above you.
Well, I got no way of jumping down like that unless
neither do I.
force leap. What's medium range in terms of feet?
Medium range is across like I think the book defines it at the most as like a football field, half a football field, something like that.
Is that about 100 feet? I don't play football.
I think medium range is like you can talk to each other without shouting range.
Oh yeah, that's it.
So it sounds like it's a little farther than that.
Like a big room.
Yeah, so I don't want to jump down and break my ankle. I'm going to take the stairs.
Oh yeah, there's just stairs we can take.
Yeah, we'll be right down there, Gunnis.
Yeah, Zep takes the stairs.
Yeah, there's a kill on the stairs. Yeah, Argan does as well.
Well, Gunnis will poke around looking for where the stairs come out, since he's just now heard that there are stairs.
There's stairs in this house. The Sith Lord was a goon.
I did mention the stairs before he jumped in.
Yeah, I did too. So him jumping really came out of left field, but you know, I dig it.
Gunnis just wanted to show off the cool tech.
He wanted to have his his Stark moment.
I kind of pictured it like the part in Empire where Luke just falls over backwards, like completely gives up, except like he just steps forward, completely giving up. That's the way I saw it.
Just like not even looking at anybody else, just whoop, there I go. All right, so I'll do the people going down the stairs first before I go back to the Gunness part. So you guys are taking the stairs down, and the stairs, it's like this, like a really wide stairway carved out of the stone, sort of descending down below. I'm sort of picturing like, this is going to sound, okay, maybe that's not something that everybody would get. It's sort of like going down into, or what you would maybe imagine going down into a subway station 3,000 years ago would look like. Like if the Egyptians had subways, there's like writing and shit on the walls, in like a language that's that you haven't seen before, or script that you haven't seen before, unless somebody wants to make a lore roll. Like very long treatises in whatever script this is that is saying something that is clearly important enough to be carved into a place that maybe would have a decent amount of traffic, or that would adorn somebody's tomb.
What's the difficulty on that?
Yeah, I'll make one too.
Okay, both of those difficulties are 4 purple with a boost die from your various holocrons.
Ouch. Ignore those white dice too.
Okay. Trying to think of what I want the threat die on that to be. I don't want to give you too much strain. How do you feel? Okay, I'll tell you what the effect is that you both see. It's going to be slightly different for Alice than Zep. And then I'll sort of give you an idea of what I think that threat could be. So you both look at the writing that's on this wall. These ancient like hieroglyphs from the Sith times. And as you look at them, like it's almost like you get the feeling like when you're looking at like a magic eye painting or something, like your eyes go out of focus a little bit. You sort of look past the text intuitively. You don't make the decision to do this. It just sort of happens when you read the writing. For Alice, the text sort of like reshapes itself into Arabesh so that you can read it. And for Zep, the text also reshapes itself, but it sort of contorts into like these weird, creepy, cyclopean, eldritch shapes, looking very Lovecrafty. And I think I'm gonna float this out there. You bounce it back to me if you don't agree. I think that could give you a point of conflict.
I'll take the conflict.
Okay. So Alice, you're able to read this in what is now perfectly understandable Arabesh. And it's extolling the virtues of various Sith lords, or I mean, they're Sith. I don't know if they'd be extolling virtues, but like their great achievements. And this one specifically is talking about who do I want this to be?
Darth Plagueis. No.
Yeah.
Thousands of years ago.
Yeah, this one is talking about I don't know a whole lot about Sith Lords, so I'm just gonna pick one random name that I've heard of and pretend. This one is talking about the great like achievements of the Sith Lord Exar Kun, even though his tomb is on Yavin, but whatever. Basically talking about how
like, you can have 2. Nothing in the book say you can't. You have like a main tomb and like a vacation tomb.
The vacation tomb.
yeah, this is his like Florida tomb. Basically like extolling his achievements and talking about how he he fought in this massive civil war with the Jedi in the area before the before the return of the Sith Empire, because I think that happened shortly before Knights of the Old Republic, a couple hundred years before maybe. And just like basically going on about what like a badass this guy was and how he was a former Jedi who sort of saw his saw the right path forward was with the dark side and blah 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 shit like that. A whole bunch of like dark side wankery basically on this wall.
He probably wrote it himself.
Ooh, yeah, maybe like his ghost wrote it or something.
Oh, Ghost Writer.
But one thing, the text eventually does get to a point, and it starts to get to the point where it congratulates the people that are reading this tomb, because it promises that if they continue into the burial chambers of the mighty Sith Lord Exar Kun, that great rewards will await them and power beyond their possible understanding.
Ah. So Alice goes, well, so I imagine Zep's like kind of holding his head, maybe a force-induced misery. She's like, "You okay?"
Yeah, I really hate these guys.
Yeah, this place isn't the greatest. I think it takes a special kind of person to wanna be here. But this sign promises that whoever goes and finds the big mystery at the end gets untold power. And I think that's probably what the two are doing.
Okay, well, great. Let's stop them.
Yeah, I think we have to.
So I also think for the other people in the party, besides Gunnis, since he took a leap of faith. So for Gank, Argan, and Hrak, as you guys are going down these stairs, and the two Jedi are looking at this text. For you guys, the text never looked weird in the first place. Like you were able to understand it the entire time. It looks like somebody carved it into the walls in perfectly understandable Basic. But for each of you, it says something different.
Ooh.
So I don't know if it's something that any of the three of you would remark upon when you read it.
I probably would read it out loud.
So for Argan,
Was this a drink Ovaltine?
Yeah. It's like different advertisements. It's facial recognition tailoring your advertisement. It's like Google Ads in a Sith tomb.
So for Argan, the text talks about a Lost Republic military archaeology team, or no, it's not an archaeology team. Sorry, a Lost Republic like scout team that was coming to Korriban, or maybe like they got in the space battle above Korriban and they had to crash land here. And it's sort of like their last efforts to sort of chronicle what became of them as they came down here. They like date all of their stuff too. And so the dates that you read in this text are all from like the same era that you served in the Clone Wars. So ostensibly, like this writing is from a bunch of clone troopers who were shot down on this planet and basically like took refuge in this tomb, and they knew that they were going to die here because they couldn't sustain themselves. So they sort of wrote their story onto the wall. And like it's a group of them, maybe like 4 or 5 of them. They all write their names, what units they were serving in. Maybe they were even from the regiment that you served with, or a regiment that you had come into contact with during your time in the Clone Wars.
Well, that's creepy. So I think their corpses are still down here then?
I mean, that's up to you. Like, are you reading this aloud to the rest of the group, or are you keeping it to yourself?
I probably did read it aloud, yeah.
Okay. I think maybe before we have the characters talk about like what each of them sees and maybe try to figure out which one of these is the real version, I'll tell Gank and Hrak what they saw, so that we can have like a more complete little roleplay session there. So Hrak, when you see this text, again, perfectly understandable in text you can read, it's talking about it actually talks about you. and it talks about your achievements and how Hrak the Great and Terrible had a mercenary empire that spanned the Outer Rim. And maybe like in the middle of the text, you see sort of like little hieroglyphics that depict this Trandoshan sort of covered in trophies and gold and shit. He's like sitting on a massive throne, and like leaning up against the throne next to him is a little graphical representation of your chain halberd. And it goes on to talk about how Hrak the Great and Magnificent had this tomb created for him using the vast amount of wealth that he accumulated through his life of crime and villainy.
I like this guy.
The only thing it does say at the end was that that Hrak met his end in a way that wasn't necessarily in keeping with like his magnificence, or maybe like when you read it, it sort of like goes into really flowery prose about how you died, and maybe sort of like tries to hype it up a little bit, maybe.
Right. That covering for something that didn't go so hot.
Yeah, or like the blatant adoration for Hrak the Great and Magnificent at the end becomes like so obvious that it puts the entire thing into question.
Right. What the criff? Well, I gotta go sometime, I guess.
And for Gank, Ganks reads out as if it's like a I don't know, like a sort of like a military report, like very, very objective, very to the point, very direct. Maybe it even has like a timestamp on it that you would see if you were reading it on like a datapad. And it's an after action report, and it displays sort of like maybe in actual military jargon and the way that they would phrase these things. It actually it goes through like a report of the events of a combat that took place. And it talks about how we'll say how Captain Gank of the whatever regiment of the Galactic Republic, we'll say, was posthumously awarded for bravery and exceptional. Well, maybe not bravery. Posthumously awarded for extreme professionalism in leading his crack regiment on the final assault on the Imperial Palace. It's sort of like a eulogy for Gank, but not like, whereas Hrax was very like sort of toned as if somebody who was an adherent of Hrak wrote it. Like yours is, like I said, it's very objective. It's like a military report, very sterile. You and your team all died. It was a complete like party wipe in the final assault on the Imperial Palace, but you achieved some significant goal in doing so. Say maybe you as one of the last living members of your party were the first to enter the Emperor's throne room.
It's always a bad idea to be the first guy first into a Sith Lord's chamber.
Oh boy. Force lightning, what a way to go.
So yeah, that's what you all see. So everybody sees something different. And the only one who doesn't see anything concrete is Zep. He just sees creepy shit.
Oh, do I just see a bunch of creepypasta?
Yep.
Oh no, it's Anakin the Killer, I guess. And he's smiling just a little bit too wide.
It's the creepy Anakin. Creepy GIF.
And then there's a jump scare.
Oh yeah. Zep will actually scream, like a womanly scream. Ah!
You guys think there's some kind of ancient technology they're using to like read us stuff from our minds, or what?
It's MacGuffin tech.
Powered by plot.
Yeah, I don't know about you guys, but I see it just fine. I
read it just fine too, but
it clearly says whoever's making it to the end is gonna find some Something good. Wait, what did you guys read?
I guess I go over my little description of the regiment.
Says here, got rich. Yep. Gonna become famous. Yeah, makes sense. Rule the galaxy, and eventually die peacefully in my bed, surrounded by friends and family, just like I wanted to go.
Says I died storming the castle, entering the Emperor's chambers.
Right. So we're in a tomb, and we're all reading about death. I got to read something about this place is weird.
Yeah, this place is the worst. Let's get out of here as quickly as possible.
Let's find the captain. Is he a captain now, by the way? I forget his rank.
Do we even know?
I would. Rebellion military structure.
Which captain are we referring to? Gunnis?
Gunnis. Is he ranked captain now?
Yeah, okay.
Cool.
Yeah. And you guys are overdue for promotion, so don't worry, you'll get those when you get back to base.
Well, they only couldn't. There's only one captain on this ship.
Actually, there's about to be a lot of captains on the ship.
You can call me General.
Yeah, let's rush back to the captain, because who knows what kind of weirdness he's seeing right now. And he's all by himself.
Oh yeah, he might be reading like who even knows what's on his wall.
So when everybody gets to the bottom of the stairs, Gunnis is sitting in a camp chair, flipping through a field manual, looking bored.
One of his many field manuals. Oh, sorry. Joke from last week. Yeah, Gunnis, you've been down here this time. Nothing creepy has really been happening to you. You're just like surrounded by these statues. It's dark, but that's about it.
Yep, I'm just sitting there reading by the light of Glowrod.
Just for curiosity, what are you reading about?
Gunnis's version of porn, so Starship Manual.
Ooh, look at the nacelles on that one. Oh.
Well, she's got ample power generation, that's for sure. So
yeah.
everybody comes down the staircase or whatever, and Gunnis says, "Oh, good."
Yeah, this place sucks. We should definitely just finish what we're doing here and leave.
That spooky wall back there. Really spooky.
There's certainly a lot of carvings and statues. You have any better read on where we should go? Do we need to go further down?
I think so, because apparently whoever's... So the inscription that I read said something like, whoever makes it to the end gets untold power. And if we're right about the two that were here before us, that's probably what they're trying to do.
Okay. Are they deeper into the facility? Do we need to try to find another way down, or are we on the right level? Do we know?
If not here, I can try. I'm gonna try to do a seek check.
Okay.
I think that should be enough. Light side pips.
You get the feeling that you were much closer than before. I think the seek also tells you like you're on the right level now. They are still like pretty far away. It's maybe like long range now. And you get a pretty clear indication of which direction you need to go in. What you don't get though is any sense or any like clarity about how many of them there are or exactly what they're doing or anything like that. It's almost like like you're trying to look at them and there's some kind of like hazy field between you and them.
Yeah, I just get the general gist that something is looming that way, and we're getting closer to it.
So we continuing on our merry way.
Sure.
Oh yes.
All right. So I mentioned that this hallway that you guys are in now, unlike the part above, this is completely dark, sort of illuminated only by Gunnis's glow rod, and like if anybody else takes out a glow rod, then that would sort of add to it. And like I said, the place is pristine down here. It looks brand new. Everything is still carved out of stone, but it's all like smooth marble and granite and shit like that. No writings on the walls. No anything besides like this long corridor, sort of like a big arching ceiling, and these giant statues on either side lining the way that sort of look down on you. As you walk, maybe like your footsteps sort of echo very lightly off into the distance. And after what seems like an eternity, the sort of the range of your glow rods, like into that comes a big doorway, and like it's a giant set of double doors, and they're sort of ajar, and you can see there's like a single ray of light that's peering through these ajar doors, and you can hear sounds on the other side. It's the sound of voices, but it's sort of barely detectable. Like it's far enough away that you know that they're voices, but you don't know what they're saying or even what language they're speaking. It's definitely two. I don't want to think about this. Maybe you don't know exactly what number there are, but there are more than two, and it's a mixture of both male and female voices.
Sounds
And
like
some like
chanting.
indeterminate voices. No, it's not chanting. It's like an exchange of some sort is happening,
Okay.
or like a debate, maybe.
Now that I'm closer, can I try to read their thoughts again, or?
You may.
All right. So, what do I have to roll against their discipline?
Yeah, roll against. I'll give you the one with the lowest discipline of them. Are you going to go for one of the living targets or one of the dead targets?
Ooh, I can read a dead guy's mind? That sounds like a bad idea. Do one of the living
Try.
people.
Okay, good, because the dead people have a ridiculous discipline. Let me find my stat block. Difficulty is 1 red, 1 purple.
I'm going to upgrade too.
Okay.
Oh, wait, do we still have Gunnis's motivation in place?
You do, yeah.
Okay, yeah, so I'm going to regain some of that strain I lost earlier and read them thoughts.
All right. So you reach out and touch the mind of one of these living things that you detect. Maybe at this point, no, you still don't have an exact number of people, just because of how hazy things are. But you are able to make contact with one of these minds. You're able to determine that this mind is maybe younger and less experienced, much more raw than the other mind is, and so maybe more susceptible to your probing of it. You are immediately met with an alien mind. It's not a human. It has a very strange thought process. Maybe you haven't read any people of this species before, but it seems like the thoughts are very. I'm trying to like if this were like a TV show or a cartoon or something, I think the thoughts would come to you as if like spoken underwater. You're able to hear them and understand them. They just have that sort of like bubbly quality to them. And you can tell this person is thinking about their impatience. They've been down here for a while, and this person and their we'll say that he refers to this person as his master. Have been down here for quite a while, and they haven't been getting anywhere. And the impatience is really starting to rise in this person that you're sensing. So much so that they're contemplating a violent solution to the problem that is currently in front of them. Maybe you can sort of like feel this person's hand as their fingers sort of touch their weapon or reach down for their holster.
All right, so I'm gonna kind of look at the others and say, guys, I think if we just give this a few minutes, they might even out their numbers a little bit for us.
I love that. Let's let them kill themselves, and we'll just mop up what remains after the gunfire dies down.
Yeah, I'm not killing anyone. I'm just letting them die via inaction.
Exactly.
We can't stand by and let violence develop without at least finding out what's going on in the situation.
Yeah, we might miss a good fight. Come on, let's get going.
I mean, if we're talking morality-wise, us showing up would exacerbate the situation incredibly, and we'd end up killing all of them. So,
Sign me up. Pack starts moving forward.
Oh boy.
Zep is going to sigh and wait for the rest of the group to make their
Okay,
decision.
So what I'm going to say is, so Gunnis reacts as if he's going to say, like, wait, hold on, but I'm going to say that he does it, like, too late, and Harak is, like, already going through the door.
I love it.
Or he kind of sighs and puts on his gauntlets. Or yeah.
And so Gunnis sort of quietly begins to move quickly to follow Harak, since it seems like it's going to happen anyway.
Okay, so maybe like the door creaks very slightly as Harak opens it up and heads on in. The room that he finds himself in is sort of like it's not dimly lit. The light is pretty low. It's also like this eerie green color, sort of like saturating everything with this weird like almost not quite like a black light, but like sort of that like fluorescent green. And you walk in, and maybe there's like a couple of pillars that have like green flames shooting out of them.
Green flame.
It's the Flu Network. And you walk in, and you see, Frax sees it first. He sees that there are two people standing in the middle of the room. They're both wearing long robes. One of them is wearing pretty much all black and looking very emo and has red skin and looks like a squid person. That's our Quarren. And the other one is a tall, broad-shouldered human guy with sort of like long salt and pepper hair and like a chiseled beard, perfectly sculpted, like piercing blue eyes. And he's wearing sort of like a threadbare version of maybe you've seen pictures of like a Jedi robe. They both look very familiar to you.
Yeah, we know these guys. We absolutely know who they are.
The distressing thing, so they sort of have like their backs to you. They don't see you walking in immediately. The distressing thing is maybe not so much them. It's what they're talking to, who they're talking to. They're standing and facing four. They look sort of like those ghost dudes from the Lord of the Rings movies. Like those dead soldiers or whatever.
Ring wraiths?
No, the ones that Aragorn like commands in the final battle.
Oh, like the normal wraiths.
Yeah, basically they're ghosts, but they're all like decayed and creepy and zombified looking. But they all look different. Like there's one that's human, or two that are humans. They're wearing like weird masks that maybe sort of obscure parts of their faces. They have like glowing eyes. They look very badass and Sith Lordy. And then there's one of them who is wearing a hood, and their face is sort of obscured. You only see sort of like from the nose down on their mouth. Could like what race it is, you don't know. Could be human, could be anything. Looks to be like sort of a shorter, sort of a slighter person. Maybe like their hands are sort of like skeletal almost, poking through their robes. And then one of them is, or the last one is I don't know how I want to describe them. It's if you've played the Old Republic, it's one of the Sith dudes, like red skin, weird like pointy shit on their face, glowy eyes.
Hmm.
But the two living people are conferring with these four ghosts, and so you're sort of like behind the living people, but the four ghosts can totally see you. The one who has like a hood obscuring their face, you see the form sort of like gently turn towards you a little bit. I mean, there may be like at long range from you right now, and or medium range, sort of like the border between those two. And she, well, damn it, I gave it away. Yeah, she raises her hand and sort of points like this creepy skeletal finger roughly in your direction, and she says in like an old gravelly old lady voice, "It would appear we have company."
What the criff up?
So are you all going to be good hosts and offer us food and beverages?
Of course, Sepp would ask for food and beverages.
And we come full circle.
Wait, hold up. Where do we recognize these guys from? Were the Inquisitors we ran into on that jungly planet?
Oh yeah. For the listeners, the squid dude is the Inquisitor that you ran into at the, I think it was like an Imperial listening post on Ossus, and the human guy is the fallen Jedi dude who had sort of set himself up as like a warlord among the tribes people on Ossus.
He
And
lives in
in
the
your-
pyramid.
Yeah, and your last interaction with him, like it was cordial, but I think it was Zep that was able to sense that he has been subsumed a little bit by the dark side, but your interaction with him wasn't exactly negative.
Yeah.
But we had sort of like a post-credit scene at the end of that mission where, like after you guys had blown up that that sensor outpost of the Empire where you saw the Inquisitor, he was like rescued or something from the debris by this this huge human, like very regal looking ex Jedi guy, and like in that moment there was like a flash of lightning in the background or something, silhouetting his head.
Yeah, so Alice probably doesn't know about him being technically a fallen Jedi. Probably just as a Force user, I think, because he did get angry that one time, and weird stuff started happening. But the other dude's clearly a Force user bad guy. And ghosts. Like, holy crap, these ghosts are talking to us.
Ghosts. So yeah, the female, totally not Darth Kreia, points to you and says this thing, and you guys start talking back, and the two living dudes sort of like turn slowly to face you. The older human guy doesn't seem to have any sort of reaction whatsoever. His face is very stony. But the Quarren, like his eyes sort of like flare in sudden recognition of you guys. He's seen you before, and he knows what you've done to him. His face is like almost unrecognizable from where you saw him before. He's had like third degree burns over half of it, and there's like his face is like cut in half diagonally, and in one side of the face, like the flesh has been replaced with this grotesque looking like cybernetic device.
So Zep is going to step forward and say, believe it or not, we're actually not here to fight.
What?
Gunnis is gonna sort of lean to the side and quietly say, "Are those ghosts?"
Wait, is Gunnis talking to Zep or?
Yeah, towards Zep and Alice.
Yeah, those are ghosts. Yeah, we're in some deep shit.
Can we fight ghosts? Is that a thing?
I don't know.
Argan's actually asking like Alice that.
I don't know. Why are people asking me these questions? I'm not the ghost
Gunnis
guru.
is gonna clear his throat, and he'll say, "Good evening. As a designated representative of the rebellion to restore the alliance, I order you to cease any and all supernatural activity and return from whence you came."
Oh, I love it. Can we please do a one shot of the rebellion ghost hunters? I took a photo and I saw all these floating orbs. What does it mean?
Those are air balloons.
the ghosts sort of like all turn spookily to each other and look at each other, uh, and they don't directly answer the question. They just say, sort of like in unison and sort of like a monotone voice, "We are the Sith. This is our world." And they start like creepily repeating this sentence over and over. And as they're doing that, the Quarren guy is reaching for his lightsaber, but the human standing next to him reaches out and grabs the Quarren's arm to restrain him.
So, how's the Empire business treating you? Killed any babies lately?
The Quarren like makes some like grunt noise or something through his cybernetic implant that sort of replaced his mouth at this point, and it comes out all like distorted and like yeah, sort of like a guitar amp that's like got the distortion completely turned all the way up. He's like a noise marine at this point.
Nice.
And he responds and he says, "The Empire abandoned me."
Ain't that a bitch? Ain't that Griff?
Zep kind of bows his head and says, I'm sorry for what happened to you. That was not my intent. My sole intent in fighting you was to get my friends to safety. Plus, I'm kind of, what's the word, prejudiced against people who hunt my kind.
Oh,
So I
you're gonna
apologize.
By the way, Alice is gonna lean in and whisper to Zep, should we ask these people about Ward's holocron, or like, because we're here on this planet trying to look for this thing, and so far the only thing we've done is go deeper and deeper into the crazy tomb.
Zep's just gonna kind of say, I'd like to see where we're going with this. If this is gonna boil down into a armed conflict, then there's no point in that. But if they can speak with us cordially, which they seem to be doing so far, yeah, well, we can definitely talk to them about that. I don't trust them, but I'd like to see where this is going.
Yep, sounds good.
So the human of the two, like pulls back the Quarren standing next to him a little bit. He's got his hand like firmly grasped on his colleague's arm. He's taking a much more cautious approach, and he speaks to you, and he's got this very like deep baritone voice, very like I mentioned, stern and regal is sort of like the vibe that he gives off. And he says, "We parted on cordial terms last time, and I would hope we would do the same this time. I would suggest you leave now to ensure that happens. Return to your ship. Leave this planet."
We have business here.
Oh,
Zep kind of shrugs and gives Gunnis a nod.
We're looking for something.
and this something brings you to the Tomb of Infinite Possibilities, he says, capitalized.
You kidding me? That's what this place is called?
Gunnis just sort of turns to Zep and then turns back and shrugs and says, yes.
Good name.
I would suggest you share with me the purpose of your visit here.
I guess it's better than finite possibilities.
Yeah, that's more of them.
We're looking for an object. Anything more than that is rebellion business.
The Quarren laughs through his like noise marine vocoder, and it is the most disturbing thing you've ever heard. And he says, "Oh, you think your high-minded rebellion ideals can do anything to sway us?"
We're not trying to sway you. We're just looking for a thing that we're looking for. If you choose to get in our way, I mean that is what it is. But I personally would prefer there be no further bloodshed. Zep looks back at the others and says, "I cannot speak for these reprobates."
What?
Man, that hurts. You know, words can hurt people, Zep.
Zep chuckles.
All right.
Good.
No. I like this
The-
shit talking we're doing. Let's keep going.
The entire time that this exchange is going down too, like the ghosts are still like quietly chanting, "We are the Sith. This is our world," over and over and over again. At some point, the Quarren like gets like he's so fucking fed up with this now, like with this whole situation. He's been here for hours or days looking for this thing that he's been looking for or trying to do, and getting no results. And now he's got like these strangers coming into this room, and he's got like these ghosts that suddenly started like chanting stupid shit at him, and he just like snaps and he like violently turns back to the ghosts and shouts something incomprehensible at them. Basically, like in Quarren, he's yelling at them to shut the fuck up, and they all pause in unison and they look at him, and then like their eyes are looking directly into his, and then they just resume. "We are the Sith. This is our world."
All right. So just for funsies, I'm going to try and influence one of the Sith spirits.
This is gonna be good.
Do it.
This is gonna
So how many red am I rolling?
My hands directly into the liquid nitrogen.
The dice pool is on its own. It's 2 red, 1 purple based on their discipline. I kind of want to upgrade, but on the other hand, I kind of want to see what this happen. Like what happens here.
Well,
gonna
I'm for
upgrade.
sure upgrading.
Okay, then 3 reds.
That's not
Yeah,
too
because
bad.
I want to see where this is going to.
Please despair, please despair. Or triumph.
Well, I got to make sure I can do it first.
Or both.
Okay. And let me make sure I don't.
Oh,
I have
you know
range,
what?
not magnitude.
Let's make this spicy. I'll say if you tap into a dark side point, I'll give you a boost die.
Ooh, I don't want to.
Quick and easy power.
Well, I actually, since I'm upgrading, I can't use a dark side pip. So I am going to upgrade once. I'm going to use Touch of Destiny once. So let's see how this works.
Got a good feeling about this.
Ooh.
That is exactly what I wanted.
So I tell one of them, you should really be quiet now.
Okay. So pick one. Which one?
How many of them are there again?
There's 4 of them. I described one of them as being alien, 2 obviously human, 1 that has like a robe covering her face. You can describe them as you wish if you want to pick one of the ones that I didn't really go into much detail on. I'm going to say the only one that you can't do is the woman with the robe.
Okay, yeah, because that would be sexist. I'll just do one of the other 2 that aren't alien. So just
Okay.
kind of pick one at random.
All right. I'm going to have you describe this guy for me because it's going to have an impact on what I decide on the despair.
So like a really tall, lanky human with a shaved head and a long beard. And I'm going to say he's wearing, are they all wearing robes, or can I describe what he's wearing?
Feel free to describe this badass Sith Lord.
So he's wearing kind of like bondage straps. And actually, you know what? Are you familiar with Zardoz?
Oh, yes.
Oh boy.
Yes.
Yeah, he's wearing the Sean Connery thing from Zardoz. So it's like a banana hammock with straps, and but it's black leather.
I like it. Okay. So, and you're gonna equally like what this despair is, I think. Then,
Let's hope so.
Okay, so I'm thinking on this just as a preface. I will let this be as long term as you want it to be. I think at least for the duration of the rest of this mission, maybe this would have an effect. When you reach out to influence him, like he suddenly stops his chanting. And did you have him say something, or did you just want him to shut up? I forget.
I actually kind of want him to say I should be quiet now.
Okay. You reach out to him and sort of put this command into him, and he says, yeah, I'll shut up now. Very quietly, and then like his face sort of blanks a little bit, and sort of like he stares off into the middle distance, like you've broken him a little. But as you reach out to implant this command in this spirit's mind, as much as it has a mind, it's almost like you're touching a live electrical circuit. And I think we see sort of like in the netherworld of the Force or whatever, as you reach out and touch this mind and make this change, there's like a little tendril of energy that makes its way back up your arm, and sort of like goes up into your shoulder and like up through your neck and into your nostrils. And you're going to carry a little bit of this Sith Lord around with you for a while.
Oh yeah.
As
my shadow.
this can be as long or as short as you want it to be. I think for the duration of at least the rest of this, and maybe like some lingering effects going forward. It's not going to be anything major. It's just going to be, you have a house guest.
Not going to be anything major. Make it major.
Cool. So bathroom break.
Yep, I think that's a good time for bathroom break. We'll come back at 20 till.
Cool. BRB.
Alrighty.